Hunter Biden has sued the computer repair shop owner who worked on his infamous laptop for invasion of privacy, accusing the man of wrongfully sharing his personal data for political purposes, according to new federal court filings. This is a countersuit to the lawsuit brought on by the owner, John Paul MacIsaac, who is suing Hunter Biden, CNN, and President Biden's 2016 presidential campaign.
MacIsaac claimed he obtained data from the laptop in question because Hunter Biden left it unclaimed for 90 days after service was complete. Now, Hunter Biden still has not confirmed the laptop in question is even his, but these latest filings do acknowledge that some of the data publicly released belongs to him.
Right, which led to this really kind of hilarious media cycle where all these outlets that had previously called into question the legitimacy of the laptop had stopped just short of saying this was Russian-based disinformation, are now saying, oh, Hunter Biden, suing over his missing laptop. I'm like, what laptop? You said this was non-existent. You called into question whether this was a real thing.
So what do you make about this underlying claim here? It's a countersuit, which seems it's often just a legal strategy, to respond to this lawsuit. Some people are obviously going to say you left the laptop there. The terms of service say that you relinquish your rights to what's on the laptop if you leave it there. Mm-hmm. But the counter argument is reputable businesses don't sell, leak, share personal data for laptops left behind, even if they technically have the right to, and that there are some important privacy issues at stake here. Do you think that that's a credible argument?
I don't think that's crazy at all, because remember, even if the method by which we got the information was improper, that does not mean the information itself is not factual or not in the public interest. But that was the case with Hillary's emails. It was hacked and released. You shouldn't hack people's emails. That's bad. Like, you shouldn't. If anyone who participates in underlying criminal behavior there, I would absolutely think them culpable. I don't know about, he might argue that, yes, it was effectively abandoned because Hunter Biden never claimed it, so that might be enough to keep at bay the legal ramifications for the laptop store owner. But even if this laptop store owner did something wrong, we still, there's nothing, that doesn't mean the information is not in the public's interest once it's there.
Okay, so first of all, in my dry cleaner, there is a very clear sign that says any item left here longer than 30 days is considered property of the establishment. I'm sure that this laptop owner, if he didn't have a sign like that, he should have. I don't know if those signs are legally binding, but, at some point, something becomes, like you can do, like he's not expected to keep it in his store for the rest of his life. To me, I want to know, great, okay, Hunter Biden, he invaded your privacy. How exactly? Which of these photos are you saying are real photos that were private? Which of these emails are you saying are real emails that were private? I mean, this is not even tacit. This is an explicit admission that this laptop belonged to him. I want every single one of those newscasters and news outlets to now admit that they were totally wrong about that, just like COVID. Of course, they never will, that they called you a Putin stooge for pointing out important things. The thing that I can't get past is that President Biden, as a candidate, was never once asked to even say that the laptop was not real, not once. He never even had to say it was not his son's. And I mean, what a dereliction of journalistic.
And when asked, he said, well, 50 current and former federal law enforcement, national security experts have said this has all the hallmarks of Russian disinformation, or have said explicitly that it was Russian disinformation. Actually, so I've gone back to that letter and I've looked. They're very careful in the letter to say, well, we think this resembles Russian disinformation. But that caution was totally lost on all the media outlets that actually reported on that letter.
Speaking of weaponizing the security state, no wonder there's so much skepticism around organizations that might very credibly be trying to bring charges against Donald Trump.
Well, President Biden has denied, in fact, that his family received more than $1 million in payments from accounts related to Hunter Biden's business associate, Rob Walker, and their Chinese business ventures, even though financial records indicate otherwise, according to Fox News. The president said that's not true. The GOP House Oversight Committee revealed that they obtained bank documents showing that Hunter Biden and other family members, including Hallie Biden, received payments from Walker and their ventures with Chinese energy firm CEFC in 2017. Which, was the underlying point of the laptop story, to show that this corruption was not just influence peddling that through Hunter Biden, but actually did implicate Joe Biden himself.
Yeah, these are, significant amounts of money to normal people, tens of thousands of dollars being paid to Joe Biden's deceased son's wife, Haley Biden, who was also then dating Hunter Biden for a period of time after Beau's death. What the purpose of these payments is, it's relevant. If it's not relevant legally, it's relevant politically, especially after the Democrats, I think rightly so, were so critical of the close involvement of Donald Trump's children in campaign and presidential responsibilities, literally appointing his son-in-law to negotiate peace in the Middle East. Democrats, I think, were right to be making those kind of nepotism and corruption charges. Where do they stand if, again, to your excellent point, Batya, reporters aren't even asking when they have access to do so basic questions about the provenance of this money and for what reason it is being paid. If it's not untoward, it seems like it should be something that's relatively easily cleared up. And the failure to do so after all of this time starts to raise more and more questions.
I will just point out that Donald Trump's son-in-law did bring peace to the Middle East with the Abraham Accords. But I totally agree with you. I just think it was sort of a little bit, of a misdirect then and a little bit of a misdirect now. I can't point to anything that I think President Biden has done vis-a-vis China, all of which I think has been wrong, by the way, that I don't think President Obama would have done. I think he's a classic Democrat when it comes to China. The Democrats are soft on China, most importantly from a domestic economic policy point of view. And to me, this is just, they're not going to find a smoking gun tying this to Joe Biden, even though it's obviously, corruption. It's obvious they wanted access. There's not going to be a smoking gun. I don't hold it against anybody for wanting to pursue this. These are important questions. But to me, the much bigger question is about how are we thinking about China? How are we dealing with China? How are we thinking about American jobs and the American economy vis-a-vis China? Looking at China as an adversary from a just domestic economic point of view. They're not our friends. How to, wrest that 2% of our GDP back and redistribute it among the working class.
Real quick, have either of you ever left a laptop at a laptop repair store before? I'm
No.
pretty sure I did not reclaim one. I sent to Best Buy from like 15 years ago. So I'm going to save everybody the trouble. There's a lot of illegally downloaded episodes of Lost on that laptop. We'll have more Rising right after this. Stay tuned.